The message sent by John Elkann after the Interlagos disaster is clear: talk less and focus on driving. A statement that made noise because it breaks with the traditional communicative balance of the Ferrari president. But to truly understand its meaning, we need to go beyond the surface. In today's video, we will see why the Ferrari president made such statement. What is the internal atmosphere in Maranello? Let's look at Hamilton's statements after the race in Brazil. And additionally, we need to talk about Kimi Antonelli, Minardi and Verstappen, who has weighed in on the World Championship. Before starting, if you want to support me, please leave a supportive like, and now let's see everything in detail. The president's words come at a particular moment, just days after a double retirement in Formula 1 and simultaneously with Ferrari's historic double world championship in the WEC, where the 479P won the drivers' and constructors' title. A stark contrast between two worlds that are not at all overlapping. John Elkann, as we know, is not an inexperienced executive. He is the grandson of lawyer Agnelli and a top figure in numerous international holding. He knows well the value and consequences of every public statement. For this reason, the message addressed to Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton cannot be considered a mere off-the-cuff remark, but a calculated and measured stance. Ferrari management was present in Bahrain to celebrate the success in the World Endurance Championship, an extraordinary result achieved just 3 years after the project's debut. However, the opposing performance of the team in Formula 1 has made the gap between the two programs even more evident. Elkann, while celebrating the achievement of the 499P, emphasized how internal unity is key to achieving great results, a correct but partial principle. Team cohesion is certainly important, but in modern Formula 1, it is not enough. The technical, regulatory, and competitive challenges of the Premier category cannot be equated with those of the WEC. They are two different worlds in terms of resources, constraints, and objectives, and putting them on the same level means risking misleading simplifications and not fully understanding the world of motorsport. What stands out is the choice of recipients: Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. The first is the driver around whom Ferrari has built its technical and sporting project. The second represents the symbolic acquisition personally desired by Elkann, a move that should have combined sporting strength and image value. Today, however, the balance is quite different from expectations. The arrival of the 7-time world champion has not yet produced the expected results, turning what was supposed to be a winning partnership into the team's biggest recent failure. In terms of performance and communication, this first year is certainly more unsuccessful than Vettel's first year at Ferrari or even Alonso's all-world champions. However, Hamilton's arrival was praised by Elkann himself. Obviously, the fault does not lie with Lewis Hamilton, but with Ferrari's technical project. Both drivers, in different ways, have expressed their dissatisfaction. Leclerc for the lack of technical competitiveness, Hamilton for the discrepancy between the promises received and the reality of the project. On the management front, Elkann has confirmed his trust in Frédéric Vasseur, extending his contract beyond 2025. A decision consistent with the cautious approach Ferrari is taking in anticipation of the radical regulatory change in 2026. The president's statements openly praising mechanics and engineers for the progress of the SF25 can also be seen as an indirect defense of the current technical direction and team principle. It is a way to reiterate that the structure built by Vasseur today represents the vision of the presidency and consequently must be supported and protected. Precisely for this reason, the attack on the drivers appears less as a personal initiative of Elkann and more as a message from within the sports management, collected and relayed by the president. In essence, the Maranello leadership seems to want to protect the work of Vasseur and his group, implicitly shifting some of the responsibility onto the drivers and their way of communicating. It is a political signal more than a technical one. Elkann openly sides with the sports management, trying to strengthen its legitimacy after complex months, but there remains the doubt that once again Ferrari seeks internal cohesion by sacrificing public dialogue and transparency towards the outside. And these words from Elkann are not good at this moment for Ferrari because they create further instability after a very difficult season. And if Elkann wants to try to defend Vasseur's project with these statements, in my opinion, he has not succeeded in the sense that it worsens the situation in Maranello, and all the fans are ready to praise the endurance world and Ferrari's WEC victory. We've seen it everywhere, but if a project is wrong, it is right to criticize it. And if the drivers are not happy with the Formula 1 project, it is right for both Leclerc and Hamilton to express their opinions, because only in this way can you grow. Censoring their way of speaking would be wrong, because confrontation is needed to try to grow and return to victory in Formula 1. But let's also hear how foreign markets have reacted, particularly the English press that has turned against President John Elkann. The British press reacted with harsh tones. The Daily Mail spoke of a new self-inflicted wound for Ferrari, describing the team as an environment marked by betrayals and backstage stabbings. According to the tabloid, the president's hypocritical jabs at Hamilton represent yet another episode of confused and contradictory internal management. The British newspaper also highlights how the decision to media limit a driver of Hamilton's caliber is contrary to the very spirit of its market operation. The 7-time world champion came to Maranello not only for his on-track ability, but also for his image and communicative value. Yet, as highlighted by the Daily Mail, recent sporting results and media restrictions risk making collaboration with Ferrari increasingly difficult. Other English newspapers have addressed the issue, and there has been a collective discussion among their journalists. Glenn Freeman spoke of a déjà vu film that never ended well owing to the historical tensions between Ferrari management and its drivers. Josh Sutil added, "If I were the president of Ferrari, the last thing I would do is publicly criticize my drivers, Leclerc in particular. I would risk losing my best asset." Gary Anderson, former engineer and technical commentator, emphasized that the solution to internal discontent is not to silence the drivers, but to provide them with a car worthy of their talent. Clear words that highlight how, in the paddock, the perception is that of a strategic communication error by Maranello management. Jack Banyan emphasized the importance of preserving the relationship with the Monegasque. Leclerc is the golden goose for Ferrari and has always shown loyalty. I would avoid upsetting him at all costs. And I agree with these statements because Elkann's words, intended to defend the internal work of the team and enhance the contribution of technicians and engineers, ended up having the opposite effect in the media. In England, where Hamilton remains a reference figure even beyond Formula 1, his statements have been read as a sign of internal discord and a lack of trust towards the drivers. The open debate overseas shows once again how every word spoken at Maranello has global resonance and how, in the current context, Ferrari communication remains a delicate balance between image protection, sporting results, and management of two charismatic figures like Hamilton and Leclerc. And Lewis Hamilton himself responded to the words of John Elkann. Let's hear them together. Lewis Hamilton chose social media to respond indirectly but unequivocally to the statements of Ferrari's president, John Elkann. The words of the number one of the Cavallino, spoken during an event in Milan, sparked a heated debate in the world of Formula 1. To Elkann's statement that drivers need to focus and talk less, the 7-time world champion responded. Earlier, he had already described his season as a nightmare, emphasizing the difficulty of adapting to a car still far from the performance of rivals. Indeed, Hamilton had said to Sky Sport Formula 1 after the race, "It's difficult to live the dream of driving this extraordinary team and at the same time face the results we've had. It's frustrating." And a few hours after Elkann's words were spread, Hamilton posted a short but direct message on his social media profiles. "I believe in my team, I believe in myself," accompanied by some images showing him in the Ferrari garage next to number 44 and with the Brazilian flag. The British driver then added, "I will not give up. Not now. Not then. Never ever. Thank you, Brazil, always." A post that many observers have interpreted as an elegant yet firm response to the president's criticisms. In the evening, a message also came from Charles Leclerc, more institutional but equally significant. "A very difficult weekend in Sao Paulo," says Leclerc. "It's disappointing to go home with almost no points at such a crucial moment in the season. From now on, we must stay united. Only then can we turn the situation around in the last 3 races. We will give it our all, as always." The Monegasque's words directly invoke the concept of unity evoked by Elkann, but without fueling controversies. It remains uncertain whether the Ferrari president intended to address his observations and the specific behaviors of the two drivers, or simply wanted to send a message of collective responsibility. However, the context makes it clear that the situation in Maranello is not the most serene. The relationship between Hamilton and the team is still being built, while Leclerc has confirmed his consistent performance even in 2025, proving to be the best interpreter of the SF25. Elkann's words also come at a delicate moment for the management of Frederic Vasseur, recently confirmed with a new 3-year contract, but still under pressure after the season's fluctuating results. In short, 18 years after the last world title won by Kimi Raikkonen in 2007, Ferrari continues to pursue a success that has been missing for too long. Elkann and Vasseur are trying to regroup the team ahead of the major regulatory revolution of 2026. But episodes like this highlight how fragile the internal climate remains. For now, Hamilton and Leclerc have chosen the path of dialogue and diplomacy, but the response of the 7-time world champion suggests that Ferrari's season will not end only on the track, but also in terms of the team's political and communicative management. Indeed, despite the criticism from Hamilton after the race in Brazil and also in the post published on social media, his confidence in the team's future remains. The phrase "I will not give up" is also important because, for a 7-time world champion who is 40 years old and has been racing in Formula 1 since 2007, reaffirming full confidence in a new technical project is crucial, because he could very well retire and look good since he is a 7-time world champion. Instead, he is keen on winning with Ferrari. In fact, he himself said, "I know we are destined for something positive in the future. Maybe we're just shaking off our bad luck this season, but we won't give up. We must believe that something extraordinary will come from these difficulties." But let's hear Giancarlo Minardi's words on Kimi Antonelli, because they are very interesting. Indeed, among the protagonists of the Interlagos weekend, Kimi Antonelli undoubtedly stands out. The young Italian talent handled the pressure of being wheel-to-wheel with Max Verstappen with maturity, showing control and awareness like a veteran. According to Minardi, Antonelli's performance represented an important signal for the future. In fact, he stated, "Kimi showed a remarkable ability to read the race. In the direct confrontation with Verstappen, he kept his cool, avoiding mistakes and defending decisively, but also respectfully. It's an approach of a driver already very mature," explained the former team manager of Faenza. For the young Bolognese, the duel with the 3-time world champion was a true test. Despite the difference in experience, Antonelli knew how to interpret the most delicate phases of the Grand Prix with tactical intelligence, making the most of the car's potential without pushing beyond the limits. Verstappen was the author of a very high-level comeback after starting from the pit lane. He confirmed once again his status as a technical and mental benchmark, and Minardi wanted to emphasize how the confrontation with Dutchman is a unique formative experience for those competing against him. Having Max behind you is like having a spotlight pointed at you. Every slightest hesitation is punished. Yet, Antonelli managed to keep up the pace and contain the pressure. It's a signal that is worth more than many points in the standing. Minardi then analyzed the progressive growth of the young Italian over the course of the season. Antonelli is rapidly adapting to modern Formula 1, which is extremely complex from a technical and mental standpoint. He has already shown he can manage communication with the team and understand key moments of the race. This is a fundamental event for those who want to establish themselves in the long term. The Sao Paulo weekend, according to Minardi, can be considered a turning point in the paddock's perception of Antonelli. No longer just a promise, but a driver capable of holding his own against the best. In a race where Verstappen once again showed strength and clarity, Antonelli managed to stand out for composure and speed. It's a performance that bodes well for the future of Italian motorsport, Minardi concluded. The Interlagos performance confirmed that the young Bolognese talent already possesses that combination of technique, discipline, and sensitivity that can make a difference in the long run. In a weekend dominated by big names, Antonelli stole the scene with the quality that matters most in Formula 1, maturity. And the thing that surprised me the most about Kimi Antonelli this season is that he goes faster on tracks he knows less and slower on tracks he knows more. In Brazil, he managed Verstappen's arrival very well, but it was the whole weekend he had a great pace, always taking second place in both the sprint race and the race, and keeping Max Verstappen behind, who arrived with the car that was better on Sunday. Well, it's not easy, and Kimi showed he was very strong. We already knew he was a clear talent, but he showed the maturity and awareness needed in Formula 1. And there's an important detail Toto Wolff highlighted about how Kimi goes faster on tracks he knows less than on those he knows more. The Mercedes team principal identified a key factor in managing expectations. He was strong throughout the weekend, Toto Wolff declared. Perhaps also because he was on a track he didn't know. In these cases, paradoxically, things become simpler. According to the Austrian manager, the young driver tends to perform better when he is on tracks where he starts from zero. I think it depends a lot on how he handles pressure. He's only 19 years old. When you arrive on a track, you already have certain expectations for yourself and the team. If you don't manage to replicate good performances right away, you risk starting off on the wrong foot. And Toto Wolff said another important element is the internal comparison with George Russell. Kimi has an extraordinary teammate next to him, one of the best around. Racing on new tracks means having less pressure. No one expects immediate results, and this helps him to express himself more naturally. Even the fans and media focus less on him, and this allows him to drive with a free mind. 2025 is for learning, getting familiar with the team, and understanding how to work in Formula 1. Kimi's true potential, as Toto Wolff said, will emerge in 2026 when he has more experience and likely a more competitive car. The future is on his side. The talent is there, the speed too. Now all that's needed is time. Let's hear what allowed Verstappen to recover so much starting from the pit lane and finishing third in Brazil, and why Red Bull didn't identify the right setup for Max earlier. Team principal Laurent Mecchia explained at the end of the race how that decision was the turning point. Our usage window is very narrow. We fought all weekend to find it, but on the 4th attempt, thanks also to the parallel work done by Tsunoda, we managed to identify the right direction, he stated. The new setup allowed us to improve stability in the bumpier sections and regain traction in the slow corners where until Saturday Red Bull was in evident difficulty. For this reason, Verstappen was excluded in Q3. And from there on, the 4-time world champion was able to use his race pace to quickly climb positions, building his comeback with rhythm and tyre management. Another determining factor was the change in environmental conditions. The lower temperatures on Sunday radically changed the behavior of the Pirelli tires, improving the operating window of the RB21. The entry of the virtual safety car, a key moment of the race, also allowed Verstappen to return to the pits with reduced lost time, taking advantage of a puncture that could have compromised the race. However, Max Verstappen unfortunately seems to be raising the white flag in the race for the world title. In fact, after the feat of securing 3rd place at Interlagos, the Dutch driver admits that catching up with Lando Norris is now out of reach. The 49-point gap with 3 races remaining seems too wide, and the Red Bull champion himself acknowledges that the difficulties of the RB21 have compromised the season from the start. In fact, he declared, "How far behind are we now? 49 points." He asked journalists after the race, "It's not that we lost the championship here, we lost it from Melbourne to Zandvoort. We had too many weekends where we weren't fast enough, creating a gap that's difficult to close. There were moments when we gained some points, but not enough," Verstappen explained. That's how the season goes. If you're not competitive from the start, it's impossible to catch up. He hasn't committed much on Las Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. Will we be competitive there? It's hard to say. They are very different tracks from one another. We still have some difficulties in managing the tires, and it will depend greatly on the circuit layouts and temperatures. We can achieve good results, but not always. That's what we need to focus on now. Despite the title being out of reach now, the message is clear. Max won't stop pushing until the last lap of the year. Let me know your opinion on all the topics we discussed in the video, from John Elkann's statements to Lewis Hamilton's response, the situation Kimi Antonelli is experiencing right now, and also the comeback in the World Championship, which now seems almost impossible for Max. I'm curious to read and respond to all your comments. As always, I remind you to leave a like, subscribe, and activate notifications so you don't miss any videos on the channel. Here from Toto, see you in the next video.